Okay, so it was in this book, in First on the Moon, where Arthur Clarke said the famous sentence, which is now famous, "For it may be that the old astrologers had the truth exactly reversed when they believed that the stars control the destinies of men. The time may come when men control the destinies of stars." So here's the duality of man and a star being interplayed by Arthur C. Clarke, a theme that is going to recur throughout his writing career. Okay, I forgot to say one thing, and this is that in the year of Apollo 11, 1969, the song "The Age of Aquarius" was released by, I think it was, sometimes it's referred as "Let the Sunshine In." So again, the sunshine. Hopefully you'll be able to listen to it a little bit.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, Aquarius.
This became a very famous song embodying the spirit of the rebellious hippie 60s, when it was thought that there was going to be the new astrological age coming, when there would be peace and harmony ruling in the stars, and people that would otherwise never consider these things would go into astrology. And this is all very important because indeed there is an age of Aquarius astrologically coming, and even though there is no exactness about when it might start, for the Illuminati, they think that it is going to usher in their utopian golden age. And the theme is being propagated, and it started to be propagated through songs like this, starting to chip away or to influence the collective unconscious. Now it was sold as the New Age, really, and it would become the New Age movement. So here's again the theme, but unlike what the people would be told, it would not be a New Age of Light, even though it would be sold as the New Age of Light. It would be the Age of Light, but only as understood by the Illuminati, Luciferian, hidden hierarchy, and that's the secret message. Okay, going now to the Apollo program. Richard Hoagland, whom we have discussed, remembers having a very deep meeting, a very profound meeting with this man, Walter Cronkite, who broadcast, or is it said broadcasted? I don't know. The Apollo landings, as we have explained, I think. And Richard Hoagland remembers having a very profound meeting, which he describes as druidic or druid type, with Cronkite, Wally, Schirra, Paul Gast, and him standing in a circle and sharing vials of lunar soil that had been brought home by Apollo 11. This is, of course, assuming that Apollo 11 really went to the moon and brought back that the soil samples that were brought back were genuine, and that, of course, will remain a question. Later on, Arthur C. Clarke, who would also go on to cover the Apollo 12 mission, would entertain in his Ceylon house, which is now Sri Lanka, Apollo 12 astronauts Charles P. Conrad and Al Bean. In fact, Clarke would go on to go diving with them. Okay, the interesting thing about Walter Cronkite is that he was a guest at the infamous Bohemian Grove. There it is, a picture of Glenn Seaborg, the discoverer of plutonium, and future President Ronald Reagan, and Vice President Richard Nixon, or future Vice President Richard Nixon, all convening. This was not too long before the Apollo missions, towards the end of the 60s, and you can see the powers that be convening and conversing behind the scenes. So Walter Cronkite was there, and this is not just a reunion for the Old Boys Club, the polished Old Boys Club, to frolic and let off steam, as it is sold now by the reluctant mainstream establishment media, once it's no longer possible to deny that these meetings exist. Now, real hardcore, nasty, bad stuff happens there, and according to Cisco Wheeler or other witnesses, a human child is sacrificed there into Moloch, the god Moloch, during the cremation of the care ceremony. And guess which voice is used for this human sacrifice? Walter Cronkite's voice, Man on the Moon's voice. Okay, so don't you think it's time for the scales to fall off your eyes and wake up, you sheeple human person, and stop being treated like cattle? Okay. So, Moloch in ancient lore was the god to which the children were sacrificed, and this god was also Saturn. Okay, remember the Apollo programs launched by Saturn rockets. Now, in the human sacrifice to Moloch or Saturn, the child must be roasted in fire. Just like in the novel 2001, Dave Bowman has to go through the fires of a red giant, which he survives unharmed thanks to the guiding powers that propel him, in order to metamorphose into the Star Child, the all-powerful newborn Star Child, which the Illuminati are thereby presenting as the pinnacle of human evolution, the next step or the final step. By the way, one more word about the constellation Leo, which was Neil Armstrong's and Stanley Kubrick's sign. Jesus Christ is also referred to as the Lion of Judah, Leo, Lion. So there again, their Star Child as the false Lion of Judah or the Antichrist. Okay, question may come to you about whether the moon landings were hoaxed or not. And as a matter of fact, I have the question myself. I suspect that a good chunk of those landings was staged, and maybe Kubrick himself was involved. Perhaps NASA did not want us to find out about the ancient ET artifacts, extraterrestrial artifacts that they plan on finding and found on the moon. Many questions we don't know. Maybe they did go to the moon, but they did use some other type of more advanced anti-gravity craft. Many questions are still to be answered. Okay, moving now forward to this person. Commander Cosmonaut Alexei Leonov. On page 32 of his book with Sokolov, titled The Stars Are Awaiting Us, titled in English, I think I'm not going to read the Russian title, there's this painting, which you can hopefully see, of the sun, the earth, and the moon, titled Near the Moon. And Clarke met Leonov at a UN meeting in Vienna in the summer of 1968, when 2001 the movie was screened, and then Leonov pointed out to Clarke that the initial famous opening of the alignment, mystical, quasi-mystical alignment of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, was very much like his own painting, and Clarke was to acknowledge that later on. Apollo 13 is a really odd mission, and I think it was heavily scripted after the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey in a profoundly ritual way. Well, the entire Apollo program was thus scripted, so that fact became fiction and fiction became fact, which is the lovely double speak of the Illuminati. But this became all the more so for the unlucky number 13, Apollo 13 mission, whose command module was very conveniently called Odyssey, as in 2001 A Space Odyssey. Quite conveniently, Clarke himself was not to cover Apollo 13 officially due to his speaking schedule. The booster was again a Saturn V rocket, but even more so, it was the Saturn 508 mission with again 50 and 8 adding up to 13, ritual numerology. Liftoff was on April 11, 1970, which happened to be a Saturday, or Saturn Day. You know, from the Latin it comes, the days of the week all come from a planet, and Saturday comes from Saturn. Launch time was 13:13 military time in Houston. That's 1:13 p.m. in Houston. There are no special celestial positions that I could find on the Cape Canaveral sky at that particular moment with my software, but over Houston, where the mission was followed, something odd or interesting did happen at the time of the launch, and this was that the star Mintaka of the belt of Orion was 33 degrees and 35 minutes over the horizon, and Alnilam slightly lower, 32.2 degrees. And of course, as Richard Hoagland explains, these stars of the belt of Orion are powerfully ritually significant of Osiris in NASA's secret worshipping of ritual star alignments. The famous accident, which is sold of course as an accident, and it was a very successful accident because it made the whole crew of the Apollo look like heroes, when officially the oxygen tank exploded and there was that tense moment when people feared for their lives. This all happened on a Monday, and Monday is Moon Day. You know, the planet associated in the old Latin word, originally with Monday is the moon, which was also April 13. The day 13th, so it couldn't be any more superstitious. The very agency that wants to deny all superstition and officially ram into us that everything is rational and so-called scientific. Now the crew had just listened to what? Also sprach Zarathustra. Or is it Zarathustra? Oh damn it, I don't have the sound clip now, but it's the famous sound of music of 2001. And this had just happened when the oxygen tank blew up, and the famous line, Houston, we've had a problem, was sent to Houston. Let's see if you can listen to this line.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
Okay.
This is Houston, say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
There you go. So Houston, we've had a problem, and that had just the crew had just listened to it when they reported the so-called problem, and in the work of fiction 2001, if I remember well, how the computer had to interrupt the festivities of the crew on Discovery with the words, "We have a problem." I think this was in the novel, because in the film the computer just says, just a second, I'm detecting a failure on the AE35 unit. Anyway, so officially it was the explosion of the oxygen tank. Oxygen, the molecule, has a mass of 32 atomic units. The spaceship was then roughly 322,000 kilometers from Earth, 322 being the number of the skull and bones, if I remember well, and being also about 200,000 miles. And what was the name of the lunar module for Aquarius? For the Apollo 13, it was named Aquarius. It couldn't be any more Illuminati in your face, could it? And the mission orbital inclination was